Hey, Ed from Precision Gun Reviews here, and today we're taking a look at another pistol. This time it's from Walther, and it is, of course, the Walther PPS M2. This is their single stack 9mm, very popular gun genre these days. It's clearly a competitor to the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, the Glock 43, the Springfield XDS, the Kahr P9, CW9, CM9, PM9, and everything else that has been out in single stack, the Ruger LC9. Walther is in on this trend, and in the PPS they have created a very nice version of the single stack 9mm with their own flavor to it. Some of the particular elements that make Walther's notable. It does come with two magazines, one 6-round flush fit and one 7-round extended. That's an unloaded gun. We're going to get this box out of the way. So this PPS M2 is a polymer framed single stack striker fired pistol, chambered in 9mm. It is 6.3 inches long. It is 4.4 inches tall with the flush magazine, and it is 4.9 inches tall with the extended magazine. It's only 1 inch thick. It's got a capacity, as I said, of 6+1 or 7+1. And that's different from something like the M&P Shield, which is its direct competitor, which starts at 7+1 and its extended is 8+1. So you're actually losing out on a round here. So that's more like the Kahr CM9, which is a 6+1, or the Glock 43, which is a 6+1. And you can see in the height there that it's about equivalent to a 6+1 gun. The magazines appear to be, they don't say Kahr on them, but they do have the infamous Made in Italy stamped on the front, and they are high quality magazines that very much remind me of a Kahr mag, though they're stamped with Walther. That might be something to look into, but if I had to make a bet, I would say that Kahr makes the magazines for Walther on this one. There is no magazine disconnect safety, which is preferable for a concealed carry handgun. The gun, in terms of look, has been updated to match more in line with Walther's more recent offerings, like the PPQ or the PPX or the Creed most recently, or any of those guns that have this special signature Walther stippling, sort of a squiggly look to it with the front finger grooves, the very gentle finger grooves in the front strap with these sort of bumps along the edge of the grip frame. It's not quite as thick as those double stack guns, obviously, but it is much more comfortable than its predecessor, the PPS Classic, as they're calling it now. Between those two, the previous PPS and this one, it's hands down infinitely better looking and more comfortable than that gun. While this grip does feel much better in the hand than the previous version, compared to those other Walther firearms, the double stacks, the narrowness of it is a little bit less comfortable to hold and while shooting. It's not quite that deck of cards feeling like you had previously. Definitely improved, but still not like, not like a double stack where you have plenty of width here to pad against your hand. The slide is a Tenifer coated slide. These slide serrations are deep and wide, and they give you a good grip on the slide. We have them in the front as well for press checks or whatever you might want front slide serrations for. I generally don't use them. I think they look kind of cool, but that's about it. The barrel is also Tenifer coated on the PPS M2. Taking a look at the sights, they are big, bright 3-dot sights. They are metal, and they are adjustable for windage in the rear. the front is not adjustable. I think the sights are excellent. I really enjoyed using these sights. You know, they're big and bright, easy to acquire, and the gun itself is quite accurate as it comes from the factory. I was able to shoot very well with it. While we're looking at the back of the gun, we might as well take a look at this striker indicator. You see that that moves to show that the gun is cocked or not. So there, it's invisible, it's deep in the gun. We rack it, and it comes back up. You can barely feel it, and it's not as prominent as the red dot on the back of something like the P99, but it's there, and you can see it comes out a little bit as you stage the trigger, and disappears when you pull the trigger. Controls on the PPS M2 are very low profile. You have this excellent magazine release. It's very good. It fires the mags out. It's easy to actuate. It doesn't get in the way at all. The slide release as well is very well protected here by the frame of the pistol. This polymer rides up as a buffer to prevent you from snagging this piece of metal anywhere, and the slide release or slide stop is very easy to activate. Also, finally, these takedown levers are quite simple to operate. Much like a Glock, this is a very simple to take down firearm. And otherwise, it is completely very snag-free on either side. Everything is very smooth, and it's designed for its purpose, which is concealed carry. We talked very little about the trigger, so if we want to take a look at that, this is the trigger. It is a polymer trigger. It does have this trigger safety in there, and it has very little take up, just to there. There's a firm wall, and it breaks at 6.1 pounds according to Walther's documentation. And at this point, because of the way the trigger is designed with this hard wall, all you have to do is get past it, and it snaps very simply. It doesn't feel quite as heavy as 6.1 pounds because it's just getting past that initial resistance, and then it releases. It breaks, as they say, like glass. The reset, which everyone is interested in all the time, is not terribly short, but it's a decent reset. It comes right back out to where it broke. And you see it just from where it broke down to the over travel and back to where it broke. So very consistent, if nothing else. It's a good trigger. And I would say that trigger lends itself to the gun's strong performance on the range in terms of accuracy for a small and light gun. I was able to put my rounds into tight groupings with the PPS M2, and that's great for a small and light firearm like this. It is 21.1 ounces, so when I say small and light, it is indeed heavier than most other single stack 9mm. For example, this Kahr CM9 is many ounces lighter than that. And interestingly enough, the recoil on the PPS was stout, as you would expect. You know, it had a stiff recoil. It actually, this little beaver tail area that comes out decently far ended up striking me on the knuckle on the recoil. So that wasn't great, but you have to expect that from a single stack. However, as I mentioned, this Kahr CM9, this gun has a lighter felt recoil for me than the PPS, which is interesting, and that is a lighter weapon. And then there's also the consideration that at 21.1 ounces, I mean, you are getting the single stack slimness, but 21.1 ounces is about a half an ounce lighter than a Glock 26. Obviously, you're loading that up with 4 more rounds than this, so it's going to be another 2 ounces heavier based on ammo capacity. But, you know, that's something to consider. If you just want small and light and not necessarily thin and narrow, then a Glock 26 does the trick just like that. And those of you who like the Glock trigger will very much appreciate the PPS M2, because to me it's like a Glock trigger that is slightly improved. Just feels a little bit better than a Glock. It's got this flat face, it's more comfortable, and just it shoots better than a Glock trigger to me. So also similar to a Glock, we have Takedown, which is a breeze. Pull down the two tabs on either side, and the slide comes right off. There you're left with this dual captive recoil spring, which is interesting in that it just kind of sits there. It doesn't need to be tensioned at all to fit between the barrel and the muzzle. It just kind of falls right out. And looking here, you'll see that the design of the chamber, the feed ramp, everything below the barrel here is abbreviated. Especially this feed ramp is interesting to me because it's so short. You have the feed ramp extended into the frame where they mate together like that. If you were to take a look at the magazine in there, you'll see that that feed ramp goes deep down below the magazine. And, you know, you might look at this barrel and this feed ramp and think, hey, that's really short. This is going to have problems. But no, the way that it mates together makes it a very extended feed ramp in actuality. And that seems to hold true because I didn't have a single hiccup with this gun, which is great. And obviously, besides that, everything is as you would expect from a modern striker fire design. It's a fairly clean interior. It's got the striker block and an external extractor, a very, very wide ejection port. And another thing of note here are these slide rails. On this side, they're very long. They are steel. They're all part of this chassis. And on this side, it's the entire length of the gun almost. Like, I mean, obviously not this front piece, but that whole length of the gun is a steel slide rail. And mostly on this side as well. Only where the slide stop is located is there a missing portion. So that's great. The design is very good, and it all comes together to provide a very high quality single stack firearm. The recoil spring and guide rod assembly is the one part of the gun that feels a little underbuilt compared to the rest of the firearm. It is on a polymer guide rod, and the spring itself feels a little flimsy, and obviously that's just me holding it in my hand. Nothing has shown itself to be a problem. It's all just perception, but you know, comparatively, when you feel most of the gun, then come to this, it's like, wait, what? Is this from a different gun? I don't know. It just doesn't seem to mesh with the rest of it. Anyway, let's reassemble this firearm. You know, the normal way. Again, this just kind of sits in there, and then slide it on. Rack it, and you're good to go. So that's the PPS M2, a single stack 9mm from Walther. I like it a lot. It's $469 retail. You can find it for about $380 to $420. Magazines are $35 to $40. And, you know, in terms of a recommendation, I would say if this is a gun that appeals to you, you should have no hesitation about it. It's 100% reliable in my experience. You know, it runs like a top. It's very accurate. Obviously it's adjustable. It feels good in the hand. It is a bit stout. You know, the recoil's kind of stiff. It gave me, in particular, that little problem snapping against my thumb knuckle. But you know, everyone holds a gun differently. That could just be my experience. Otherwise, definitely good. I would caution you though that for the same size gun in an M&P, you're getting an extra round, or in something like a Kahr, you're getting the same number of rounds in a smaller, lighter package that actually has less perceived recoil. To me, the trigger's going to be completely different on this, as it is on the M&P. But it's worth at least trying out to see if this is the one for you. You know, it does have its drawbacks, it does have its benefits. So certainly I wouldn't take it off the table, and I would recommend giving it a try. That's the Walther PPS single stack 9mm about $400 street price. Go try it out. I think it's a good gun. I'll definitely recommend it, with the caveat that it is less size and weight to capacity efficient compared to some other firearms, but it makes up for that with some other aspects of the design. That's it. That's the Walther PPS M2. I'm Ed from Precision Gun Reviews. If you like our videos, please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe to catch all of our new stuff as it comes out. And until next time, you guys stay safe out there.